Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars video. So today, we have even more Star Wars movie updates. And if you're wondering, more? What do you mean? Well my friends, if you remember a couple of days ago on Thursday afternoon, StarWars.com announced to the world that Star Wars Starfighter, the 2027 movie by Shawn Levy, is officially in production. And with it, we had a massive cast announcement, most of the main characters. But what if I told you that Lucasfilm might be withholding one or two big names? Oh yes, they're being very cheeky, and I'm not just talking about the possibility of Oscar Isaac or Daisy Ridley. A brand new scoop has come out that Ryan Gosling's real-life wife, Eva Mendes, who by the way retired from Hollywood 11 years ago, might be making a return in this very movie. And I guess you could say predictably, word on the street is that she's going to be playing Ryan Gosling's character's love interest. And it's not the only rumour that's emerged, because scoopers left, right and centre have been giving their input. They've been hearing some rumblings for many months, and now they're just coming out with it, spilling the beans. And in light of this, there is another little piece of news that we have to talk about. So as you know, and I'm not going to dwell on this, we've spoken about this to death, the plot rumour states that Ryan Gosling's character is protecting his nephew, being played by Flynn Grey, from two evil pursuers. We don't know if these are some kind of post-episode 9 inquisitors for the main villain of the movie. We don't even know if they have the Force to begin with, if they're thugs or smugglers, or what their main motivation is. But whatever the reason, until today, the assumption has been the reason Ryan Gosling is the kid's guardian is because his real parents are probably dead. They're not in the picture. But this is where things get really fascinating because, according to Jeff Snyder, a scooper who I consider is one of the most reliable in the industry, Amy Adams is playing the child's mum, so the mother is in the movie. And fans have been dying to know who Amy Adams is playing. She's a DCU favourite, amongst many of her other roles, and now we know she's playing Flynn Grey's character's mother. But it doesn't mean she's necessarily alive in the movie, because the rumour says that she has a minor role, so maybe it's just in flashbacks, maybe Ryan Gosling, who I presume is going to be her brother, tells the kid about her, he might ask questions like what was my mum like, maybe it comes up over dinner, whatever the case, it's a brief role, so it could be in flashbacks, or even a hologram message. But I've been dwelling on this, and I have a very different perspective. What if the assumption at the beginning of the movie is that the mum is dead? But she isn't. Maybe she was captured by the forces that be, separated from her son many years ago. Maybe she had the Force, maybe she was a Jedi, maybe she knows Rey. I've no clue, but maybe the framing of the movie seems to imply that she is dead. But in reality, she's missing. Maybe taken to a prison, or somewhere like Mount Tantis. I know I'm going a bit crazy with the speculation, but come on my friends. It's a new Star Wars movie, and I'm so excited about it. So maybe their quest is to save the long-thought dead mother. So Ryan Gosling's character and the nephew embark on their journey. The evil pursuers hear word of this. Maybe they're the goons for a new Order of Sith or Darkside user, and they try to stop them. But at this stage, you've probably noticed, Lucasfilm is being very vague about plot details and what the movie's actually about. All we know is the time period. At Star Wars Celebration in Japan back in April, Shawn Levy said that this movie is 5 or 6 years post-Rise. But minus the hearsay, the speculation, the rumours, all of these tidbits, officially, we don't know anything. The plot rumour might be completely false. But moving on to yet another Starfighter update. I told you guys this video was going to be chock full of fun. Well, it turns out that John Campier has heard a couple of things about the movie, and apparently Star Wars Starfighter is going to be a repurposed version of Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, a movie long thought to be extinct, indefinitely delayed. Some say it's cancelled. Every year or two, Jenkins comes out and says, no, don't worry, the movie's still gonna happen, but we know how that goes. Other creatives in a similar position like Rian Johnson have been saying similar things for years, and nothing ever happens. So maybe Lucasfilm had enough, and they said, you know what, we're going to adapt Rogue Squadron into Starfighter. And if this is true, and it's a big if, this explains how the film was able to go into production so fast, because they already had a lot to work with. Some core ideas, maybe some character archetypes, and also some plot points which then got rewritten by Jonathan Tropper, the writer of the Shawn Levy movie. So if Starfighter is going to be Rogue Squadron but just readapted with new faces, new characters, then it changes the way we see the movie, because we know way more about Squadron than we do Starfighter. And there's been a plot synopsis available online since 2021 from Patty herself. It read, quote, "The story will introduce a new generation of Starfighter pilots as they risk their lives and earn their wings in a boundary-pushing high-speed thrill ride that moves Star Wars into the future era of the galaxy." So again, post-episode 9. Now while it's just speculation, it's not difficult to see how some of this could be incorporated into the new movie. but I have to be honest, I'm a little bit skeptical of this rumour, because Patty Jenkins spoke to Kathleen Kennedy last year and confirmed Rogue Squadron is still on the table. So what I predict is a far more likely scenario is that Starfighter borrows some aspects of maybe one of Jenkins' early drafts, but not be an entire reworking of it, just in case Jenkins wants to hop back in and make a movie someday. But if it ends up being true that Starfighter is a new version of Rogue Squadron, then I wonder if we're going to see the likes of Wedge Antilles and Poe Dameron, two characters that were rumoured to be part of Jenkins' movie. Fingers crossed. It is nice to have some familiarity, because we're not so far removed from episode 9 that we don't recognise anything. But as long as the main cast is entirely new characters, and any familiar ones are just brief cameos or tie-ins, then we're golden. So in addition to Eva Mendes, are Dennis Lawson and Oscar Isaac more surprise names? That's the question. I still can't get over the fact Simon Bird is going to be in it. He is absolutely hilarious. And as a few of you guys have suggested, he might just be voicing a droid. Maybe the household droid of Ryan Gosling's character. And you know, hearing how this movie is going to be very family oriented, a lot of family drama, lost parents, found family, an uncle and his nephew going on this big adventure to evade villains, it just feels very Skeleton Crew. And if that's going to turn out to be true, this movie's going to be a ton of fun. And even the names working on this movie suggest it. Sean Levy, of course, and I know there is some fan backlash because his comedy is a bit more experimental. You know, there are worries it might not suit the Star Wars vibe, but also the McLaghlans, Mary and Josh, and Dan Levine. So just from these names alone, and you look at the filmography and the stuff they've worked on, you get a sense of the kind of vibe that Starfighter's gonna go for. I don't think it's gonna be a literal flat-out comedy, but I imagine there will be a certain levity to this movie, a fun family adventure. And just briefly returning to the Rogue Squadron rumour, there's another piece of news that might suggest John Campea is right. It's been announced, and even confirmed by Sean Levy on Twitter, that Claudio Miranda is the cinematographer. Claudio is an expert at vehicle action, known for doing the cinematography on the F1 film and Top Gun Maverick. That is exactly the visual style Patty Jenkins was going for with Rogue Squadron. So this to me might solidify that John is right, because if Starfighter is going for the same thing, it's going to look and feel like what I imagine Rogue Squadron would have felt like. And even without this rumour, even if we were just speculating and comparing the two, there does appear to be quite a lot of overlap. Starfighter certainly to some extent is stepping on the toes of what Patty wanted to do. And you know how I said it might feel like Skeleton Crew? It might be a situation like the show, where the New Republic, or in the case of post-episode 9 in Starfighter the Resistance, swoops in and saves the day at the last minute, and the name Starfighter only makes sense in the final third. Just a bit of speculation, I cannot explain to you how excited I am for this film. And so finally, my dear friends, we have some more Star Wars movie news. Now, this isn't 100%. This has been a long-standing rumour which now some fans are saying is confirmed, but there's also the possibility that whoever wrote this was just throwing out some speculation. But basically, according to the wrap, Simon Kinberg's trilogy is going to be episodes 10, 11 and 12. Like I say, when it was first announced and word got out that he's writing a sequel to the sequel trilogy, fans started saying, well, this is basically episodes 10, 11 and 12, but it was said just as a placeholder. Well, according to the rap sources, the next movie by Simon Kinberg is Star Wars Episode 10. And do you guys remember that Kathleen Kennedy confirmed that Star Wars crawls are coming back? All of the upcoming movies are going to have a traditional crawl. I'd be surprised if they do it for The Mandalorian and Grogu. That doesn't make sense to me. I think they should do a title intro that is more in line with the TV show. But when it comes to Starfighter, Simon Kinberg's trilogy, the Rey movie, I think they're going back to traditional crawls. And the reason Kathleen Kennedy might have said this a couple of years ago is because she knew they were returning to the saga. So it seems like we might have an episode 10 on our hands. But with that said, my dear friends, share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. How are you feeling about Star Wars Starfighter? And is the future of Star Wars movies bright? If you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you, always.